Hey, friend, welcome to the podcast. You Are Significant, the podcast where you will hear real stories from real people, and we will get down into the truths of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Now, let's get down to it. I'm so excited to be here with Vicki Luann. She's got on her screen, and she is a trauma-informed master coach. And she and I met through a mutual trainer that we and mentor that has been such a blessing in both of our life. And over time, we've just gotten to know each other more and get to be a part of each other's journeys. And I'm so thankful that Vicki said yes to being on today. So glad that you're here, Vicki.
Thank you, Darlene. I'm happy to
Welcome.
be here. I'm so glad you asked me back. It's awesome.
Yes, so welcome to You Are Significant. I want to share Vicki's bio with you. She is a passionate advocate for functional health, wellness, and financial freedom through Plexus. Her journey began with the desire to take control of her health and energy and has grown into an incredible opportunity to empower others to do the same. Plexus has given her the tools to support her well being while also creating the freedom to live life on her terms, whether that means more time with family, pursuing her passions, or building a thriving business that aligns with her values. It has also allowed her to become a certified trauma informed master coach and positivity practitioner so that she can help people heal physically, spiritually, mentally, and financially, and she is about real healing from the inside out. So we were talking just a little bit before, and Vicki has an incredible story of overcoming and being shown throughout her life from childhood up that she is significant and has purpose and that everything is for a purpose. And sometimes when we're going through things, we can begin to wonder if we matter at all, if we should just get smaller and smaller and try to be as invisible as we can, just to be safe, for one. But we know that is not God's purpose or plan on our life. And as we think about the Proverbs 31 woman, she not only took care of herself and had self care,
Mhm.
but she also had a husband that was praised in the gates, and she had children that rose up and called her blessed. That is being seen in both of those cases. And then also, she would go and gather her food from afar. She had relationships outside of even her own community and business relationships. And then, of course, we know she purchased land. So she was an entrepreneur and a businesswoman. And a lot of times back then, women didn't always have land, but she did. And so she was innovative and ahead of her times. And I'm sure that she didn't worry so much about people pleasing and what everybody was going to say about her, but more concerned about the right people, the people
Mhm.
that were also about good and realizing their purpose, and that our purpose is tied up in God and His plan for our life and not always horizontally in what everyone else is doing. So, always want to encourage people, but we know the right ones are going to come along with us. And I think that you'll see that in Vicky's story today. So excited for Vicky to get started and share her story. And I asked her to start from the beginning. So tell us about it, Vicky.
Oh boy. So the beginning, so we'll go into childhood a little bit. My childhood was very traumatic, very chaotic, very messy, not good at all. It was full of physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, um, and being small is exactly what we were. I'm going to say programmed to be. You didn't hear us talk. We didn't talk at the table. There was no friendships, and everything was a secret when I was growing up. You couldn't tell anybody what was happening in our house. You couldn't talk to a friend. We couldn't even talk to each other.
Wow.
Um, we were pitted against each other as children, and so we still we're working through that now, but we still kind of combat that. All of us as siblings were like, oh well, maybe I shouldn't tell you that. Right, because it's true. And I mean, I'm a little up there now, so we we still battle that with each other at times, and that's really sad, but we're working through that. um Growing like into adulthood, you you tend to go where you know, right?
Mhm.
Even when like Jesus would bring me out of literally out of my head so that I would be somewhere else when things were happening to me.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't I don't know how to say this exactly, but it wouldn't affect me physically because I wasn't my body didn't belong to me. It belonged to somebody else.
Mhm.
Um in my mind.
Mhm.
And so that was I feel like that was a blessing, and that was Jesus protecting me
Mhm.
from what was happening to me all those years when I was little. It
Mhm.
started when I was 8. So I mean I was really little.
Mhm.
And going into adulthood, you you carry that. I mean you carry that, right?
Mhm.
And it's hard to just turn off that switch of like, "Oh, I'm worthy now."
Mhm.
Because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of inner work to understand that you are worthy and that God wants great things for you. Because
Mhm.
when you're programmed that that isn't the truth, it's really difficult sometimes to overcome all of that. I have, of course, been wanting to be a coach since I was in my early 20s. And it finally came to fruition for me after I made a decision. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Like all my life, I've been told what to do and how to speak and how to dress and what to say and what not to say. And oh, one day this just happened fairly recently, and I just was done. It wasn't my calling to be squished.
Mhm.
That never was my calling, and I always feel like it was my calling to be big and bold and broad and loud, and I can do all of those things, as you know. I can get loud, right? But it
I
took
love that theme at our
it
convention that we had. That was such a good theme.
I
Yes.
can get
And we're
loud,
supposed to
but
get loud for God.
yes,
We're not supposed to
right,
be quiet when it comes to the things that he wants us to get loud about.
right.
And, we were studying last night in our Bible study about the apostles and disciples that went into different towns. If the town would
Mhm,
not receive them and the gospel they brought, to shake the dust off their feet. And not to interrupt your train of thought too much, but it went on to say something I hadn't noticed till we were studying again. It went on to say that for that town, it would be worse than Sodom and Gomorrah, which we know was burned up with
mhm.
brimstone.
Yeah,
And even still now, when you go visit, you find these balls of sulfur that are there. It is still completely unusable ground. And so we are supposed to get loud for Jesus,
yeah.
and then his gifts, secondly, his gifts. And you have so
Mhm,
many gifts. You have the talent to coach and be a master trauma coach because of what you've gone through. And so
mhm.
that is so exciting that you finally got that conviction. It's like I've envisioned it's like this welling up. God just kept filling your
Yeah,
cup with, you are significant. I have a
mhm.
calling on your life, and you are supposed to open your mouth and do this for me. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. you come to a point in life, well, actually, he said it to me pretty loud. Um, like all of this happens for you. Like all of these things, even though they're terrible and they're horrific, and there's all of these awful, awful things in the world, and people that are supposed to love you the most can inflict the most pain,
Mhm.
and we all know that, right?
Mhm.
Um, but once you understand that these things happened for you, not
Mhm.
to you,
Mhm.
then it can completely open up your whole world and your heart and your soul. And then Jesus can just come pouring into that and
Mm.
then seriously guide you to where you are supposed to be and where he's always wanted you to be and where you have always been made to play small by humans.
Mhm.
And it is a miraculous thing. I mean, even I got super sick, as you know, I almost died.
Mhm.
And even in that, um, I ended up, as you know, I was in very good condition. I was a bodybuilder,
Mhm.
and just it didn't quite happen like that, but pretty close. And
Mhm.
I, next thing I know, I was in a wheelchair, and my hair was falling out, and I could hear you talking in my teeth, and all of these awful things, and I couldn't use my hands and my legs, and even in that, I believe that that happened for me because I was just pushing myself beyond limits that I never should have tried to break.
Mhm.
And so my nervous system, because it's always trying to protect us,
Mhm.
just shut me down. It shut
Mhm.
me down, and that is also, I believe, that is also a God thing.
Mhm.
And then when God brought me Plexus, I mean, a woman showed up at my door with a friend of mine. I'd never met her. I didn't even meet her that night, actually, because I couldn't get out of bed. And obviously, I was, they told at that point, I think they gave me 30 days or less. And,
Mm.
and all of a sudden,
This woman
he,
shows up at your
he
door.
said, like, I have this one thing, like it was meant for someone else, but now I believe it was meant for you. And I
Wow.
believe that God brought me here tonight because there was no reason on earth why she should ever be in my home,
Mhm.
and gave me this thing. And I was begged to take it. And so eventually I did because I
Mhm.
sure didn't want to.
Mhm.
Um, I wanted to go home. I didn't
Mhm.
want to be here. It was terrible. And and again, he's like, "No, you got to take this. You got to do this. You got to help people. You got to tell them to help them understand that this is for them. Like this is everything that I've put on this earth. And now
Mhm.
it's done by man to help make it easier for you so you don't have to go forage all this stuff, and you can take all this amazing nutrients for your body, and you can do more amazing things.
Mhm.
You can do
Mhm.
amazing things. And I mean, I'm no longer in a wheelchair. It's been a little over 6 years from it.
Wow.
And that brought me into being this trauma informed master coach.
Mhm.
And I believe all of that is
Mhm.
absolutely God's plan.
Yeah.
And my next step is I want to hit the stages and share with women, with girls, that they're not alone in their abuse. I mean, it
Mhm.
happens to so many women, not just women, men too. I don't want to
Men
disclude
too.
men because men get sexually abused as children, and
Mhm.
there are a lot of us out there.
The statistics is 7 out of 10 boys.
7 out of 10 boys, right? And it's mind blowing
It's
that
mind-blowing.
this happens,
Mhm.
even in today's world.
Mhm.
It's
And
mind blowing.
I'm surprised at the men who share they've been even abused by their wives,
Mhm.
where the wife was the one coming home and hitting and abusing physically and then causing mental trauma too by what she said. And, we have some. men who grow up as gentlemen and they're taught, "Do not hit a woman, do not hit
Right.
a girl, do not hit a woman," and that's ingrained in them, and
Mhm.
then sometimes they end up in an abusive relationship. It's something that isn't talked about nearly as often,
And it
but
should
it
be.
is it is happening,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you acknowledge the men and the boys that,
Yeah.
um and oftentimes, boys who have been abused, sexually abused, then, their trauma turns into drug abuse, or, a
Mhm.
lot of the ones I know, it ends up being drug abuse or joining a gang or
Yeah.
both. It can, turn into being trained by the gang in violence, and it
Mhm.
just becomes this string of events that started out as being a boy in
Yeah.
trauma. And
Yeah.
so, again, I think that it's so important to be seen and to call these things out, because when we call them out, they begin to lose their power over us individually, but also as a society.
As a
And
society, I agree.
and it's the first step is coming out of that secrecy and,
Mhm.
denial, and then that opens up the door for the beginning of healing and change.
Absolutely. And
So
I think that, not to interrupt, I
no,
think
you're good.
that teaching teaching people to look for the signs of an abused child is also very important, because if you're if you're told not to tell, if you're told that bad things will happen to the people that you love, if you say anything, if you're told, I mean, there are a lot of things that keep it a secret.
Mm,
And it I think it's also very important to teach people the signs of that. I mean, if you have a very happy-go-lucky child and then all of a sudden, little by little, they're no longer happy-go-lucky, there's usually a reason for that that's pretty strong. And
mhm,
trying to know that they're in a place of safety and that they can speak about it is
mm.
important, because
It
then
is
that
important.
eliminates that path to destruction in their lives later on, because
Right.
they're keeping that in that whole time. And as you know, trauma stays in our cells. And
Mhm.
unless we release them, they don't go away.
Right, it'll continue to manifest, and, um there's another place of trauma that isn't talked about very much. I'm feeling prompted to speak out also here, and that is church.
Oh,
I'm surprised at the number who have said they were actually molested at church,
mhm.
either in a Bible class or afterward, gotten off to the side somewhere. I always
Yeah.
made my children stay together,
Mhm.
um, but it can still happen, and
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it is shocking because we think we come to the place of worship and we're safe. We're with other people who are believers, and we think, this is at least what I thought, that, all of us are raising up our children to know God, and I just thought that was a place of safety. And so then to
Right.
realize it's different from that. And I think
Mhm.
that can be part of what is inflicted on the child not to tell, especially if it's anyone in leadership or related to the leadership.
Yeah.
That, like, if you tell, then these bad things could happen and it's going to
Yeah.
be your fault. So you
Right.
shouldn't say anything. And absolutely, the child should still speak up. And I
Mhm.
used to talk to my children a lot about things to be aware of and
Right.
how it could happen, and also to tell me if it did. And I always was working to have that door open. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean your children will tell you, though, because they still may still be under some kind of bondage from the abuser,
Right.
that even if the mom or dad or both have said, "Hey, if you're ever mistreated, please tell us,"
Mhm.
that they're still gonna be scared, or they're gonna feel stupid, like, It was it's my fault, and I was so
Mhm.
dumb, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been dumb. There's, like, shame,
Oh, absolutely, there's
and
shame.
it
Yeah.
creates this bondage of not telling, and then, like you said, then it doesn't get
Mhm.
released,
Yep.
it doesn't get dealt with so you can heal, and then also it can be
Right.
repeated, with multiple people, and so I
Yeah.
wish that there was a simple answer for
There
that. I
isn't.
don't
There
think
isn't,
there is.
unfortunately, a simple
Mm,
answer. I mean, when I was 8, I mean, I have worked through my trauma.
mhm,
Um, but can you imagine from the age of 8 and to the age of over 50,
mhm.
um, that that all of those years, it was my fault.
Mm,
And people blamed me
mm,
as an 8-year-old.
mm-mm,
How is an 8-year-old sexual?
mm-mm.
I've
No.
it blows my mind, but it happens. And actually in my podcast, in the next 2 weeks, in the next 2 weeks, it's funny that you bring this up because I'm doing a sex in cults, guys does religion, um, 2-week series
Good.
on this because I know I have friends that grew up in a cult situation under Warren Jeffs, and I know quite a few of them, and um, so the stories are haunting, just haunting.
And many, unfortunately.
Many,
And this
many,
isn't
many.
to say that churches are bad or religion is
Oh
bad.
no, no.
Definitely not. But
It has nothing
to
to do with the
also
church or the
educate
religion. It has to do with the
the
person that is the
person.
leader that is using religion and the church as a guise
That's right.
to
They're
using
using it as
and
a
have
tool
bad
to
behavior.
abuse through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It has
And
nothing to do with church or religion. It has to do
no,
with the leaders who are using it as a platform
misusing it,
for their
misusing it.
sickness.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what it
so
is.
glad that you're gonna do that. So,
Yeah,
I
me too.
definitely
I've been
want
a
you
little
to
nervous
listen.
about it, but I really feel like I'm supposed to do that. I really feel like I know all of these people
Mhm.
because of that I'm
Yeah.
going to be the get loud girl
The Get Loud Girl. Mhm.
that's going to say, this is real.
Yeah. I
And
think another element, and I'd love your input on this, we didn't talk about it ahead of time, but, um, another element I think that happens when children are being abused like that, used to women, even just a few decades ago, did not have anywhere to go. They
true.
If they knew their child was being abused, they
Mhm,
would just, rationale through it that,
mhm.
you know, it's again shocking some of the rationale, how they reason through it to not
Right?
leave,
How they
um,
justify it
to
in their
justify
brains.
it.
Mhm.
But I think,
Yep.
you know, out of compassion for what was happening back then for everyone involved, I think
Mhm,
women just thought, if I leave, I have nowhere to go. We're going to starve. We won't have clothes. We won't
mhm.
have shelter. And so they did not know what else to do but to
No, it's
stay.
true. Yeah.
And so in doing that, then unfortunately, they would say things like, "It's your fault," or they would
Mhm.
minimize the amount of abuse that and what was happening.
Absolutely.
So, it shouldn't be, but I think it's so important to look back so we can learn from it, because
Yeah.
if we don't try to see, like, why did they act that way, then we set ourselves up to repeat the same. If we don't learn
Oh,
from
well,
our
it's
past,
generational. It's
it's
a
generational.
cycle, right?
Mhm,
Like it just carries on from generation to generation to generation. In my next book that I'm writing, actually, I've already mostly written it, but I stopped for a long time because my heart couldn't handle it, honestly. But my the men in my family, I mean, it started with my grandparents, so I don't know how much further back it went, but it started with my grandfather.
Mhm.
And then it went to my father, and then there was an uncle, and then it just carried on. But not it wasn't only me. It was
Mhm.
my older sisters. I found out recently that it was my younger sister, and
Mhm.
we're pretty far apart in age, and I was already gone, when she was growing up. So we weren't tight because everything's a secret. But
Mhm.
but now we are. Now we're coming around to that. And but
Mm.
my mom, I mean, there were six of us at home, and my father was always gone for a good portion of the time. But she she would always, it was always our fault,
Mm.
because she couldn't wrap her head around the fact that not only our father, but her husband,
Mhm.
and we don't always think of that, right? Because
Mhm.
I think like my father was beep, 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 beep.
Mhm.
And I had a conversation with her, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And she said, and she was mad. She got angry with me because I was talking about it. But she just said, and she slammed her fist down on the table and she went, "He was my husband." And it was
Mm.
like,
Mhm.
wow. Like,
Right.
you don't always think that. Well, I didn't. It was just, focused on he was my father and look what he did to all of us.
Mm. Mhm.
Right. And
Mhm.
for my mom to be um, so angry and have all that anger and then have nowhere to put it except for back on us,
Mm.
because she
'Cause
couldn't
she
put it back
couldn't
on
put
my
it on
father because
herself.
my
Mm.
father was extremely abusive to
Right.
her, also
Mm.
physically, mentally,
Mhm. Yeah.
So she had nowhere else to put it besides on us.
And that's an important point too, is that
Mhm,
sometimes we just blame, say, the mother in this situation for
mhm.
not protecting her children more
Absolutely.
when she knew what was going on. But
Mhm.
and that's another point. We have to remember she's being abused too, and at least it
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
even if not physically, mentally, she is being manipulated. And
Mhm.
we you unless you've been through it, you cannot understand
Yeah.
what gaslighting is like, what
Mhm.
narcissistic abuse is like, and
Yeah.
how it does get you so confused and
It does.
so, like, messed up, if you will, in your thinking
Mhm.
that up is down and down is up and inside is out and outside is in, and
Yeah.
you don't know what is what anymore. And
You
so
don't, because
that
everything
is
that you
part of
said is
what's
wrong.
happening as well, is
Yeah.
she couldn't she very well might not have even been able to because of the mental element here. So,
Oh,
but we
absolutely, and we
talked about the
all,
physical element, like where
right.
would I go? How would I provide for my children if I don't
Mhm.
stay? But then there's the mental element as
Well,
well,
not only that, it's the trauma bond. Like, the
the
trauma
trauma
bond is
bond.
real. I mean,
It is.
as you know, I've just been going through all of that myself, in
Mhm.
my recent, um,
Training.
divorce. I'm not quite there, but I'm trying hard. But,
Mhm.
it's real. Like,
Yeah, the trauma bond.
25 years of the push and pull, push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. And then when it's gone, I mean, you practically,
You have to find your identity again. You have to find
you
a new
do,
identity
because
that you may not have ever had before.
right? Because you have no idea who you are anymore. I mean, I knew
Mhm.
who I was before,
Yeah.
but I had no idea who I was even 6 months ago. You know that.
Mhm.
I'm like, I had no clue. Right now I
Mhm.
do. Now I'm healing more and more all the time, and I'm understanding all the things that I was going through. But while you're going through that, and then I think about my mom and all of those things, I never had well, I was pretty damaged, so I could never have children. I also think that is one of God's many unanswered prayers for
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
Um because I mean, I would have it would have been right back into that same situation. right?
Mhm.
And so I'm thankful every day.
Mhm.
Uh, but when you think about that, and my mom, it was more than 25 years for her.
Mm.
And you have this, where are you going to go? What are you going to
Mhm.
do? Who's going to believe you, first of all,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Oftentimes, yeah, because the facade on the outside world can be so different. The person that shows up is maybe kind and generous
Yes.
and thoughtful, but
Very
then
charming.
charming.
In my case, it was very, very charming,
Mm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But like my mom
But
said, you
behind
don't
closed
always know what
doors.
goes on behind closed doors, right?
Mhm. It's like the Jekyll and Hyde
Mhm.
scenario
It sure
completely.
is. It sure is.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you've taken the things that you've been through and turned it into purpose and turned it into um, paying it forward so that others that are going through it, by you being open to share and working hard through your own healing journey
Yeah.
to offer hope,
Yeah.
that it doesn't just have to, um, even with the damage, this
Yeah.
isn't the end, this is the beginning of a new beginning.
Absolutely. And you're not broken. It doesn't matter how how broken and shattered and useless you feel.
Hmm.
You are not broken. There is always something inside of you that can come out and show you that you're still who you are in there. There's your little inner guardian in there who can come out. You've just got them pushed way in there, and it's so possible to just flourish and come out of the things that you never would have imagined that you could.
And
And it's
because of what
incredible.
you've been through, like a diamond, it starts out as a lump of coal,
Yeah,
and
and
because of all
pressure
that pressure that
pressure
it put
creates
under,
diamonds.
it creates a diamond.
Absolutely.
So, it
Yeah.
also makes me think about the story Emma told us about the eagle and how an eagle lives to be about 14 years old,
Mhm.
but an eagle can decide to remake itself
Right.
completely. And he bought an island that came with two eagles, Wilma and Fred,
Mhm.
and Wilma decided she was gonna remake herself, and so she started literally, he said, like, sharpening or grinding her beak, and when I was
Mhm.
telling my son this story, he said, "She was grinding it off, mom, because
Yeah.
they can grow a whole
A
new
whole
beak."
new, yeah,
And
they
I
can.
was like, "Oh, wow, okay." So she did that, and it took about 3 months of this process, which I cannot imagine every day just grinding that away.
Yeah.
But that's the hard work of healing and growth and unlearning patterns and unlearning thoughts that we think every day that become our identity, and
Yeah.
getting rid of those and grinding them away and like becoming aware that this is the thought that's coming in. Okay, when that thought comes in, I'm going to turn on this podcast, or I'm going to
Yeah.
turn on my
Yeah.
audio Bible reading, or I'm going to open this Audible book,
Right.
and listen to that so that I have a different kind of thinking that I'm programming myself with.
Absolutely. You
And
need to
then
change your trigger patterns. You need to change the trigger patterns in your brain.
yes,
Because
exactly.
if you recognize that as a trigger, you're like, "Oh gosh, I didn't even know that."
Hmm.
Right? And then but as soon as you get it, you instantly replace that with
And we do
something, and
have
then
to
you
replace
create a
it.
new path. And then that is
Yes.
no longer a trigger. And one by one, you can eliminate all the triggers.
Mm.
It's quite fascinating what our brains can do,
It's
actually.
amazing. It
Yeah.
shows again that God has created us in His image, and also that eagle would start to pluck out feathers that
Yes.
don't need anymore, the old feathers.
Mhm.
And I think that's also like us. We have to pluck out old habits, old friends that aren't the right kind of friend. That's we
Right.
are the sum of the five people we hang out with the
Yes.
most. And if we want to grow, if we want to be becoming significant and living into our significance, then it's so important that we hang out with people who also are committed to that
Right.
and living into that both presently and with that in their mind for the future. So plucking out all
Absolutely.
these
Yeah.
feathers and then just growing a whole new bodysuit,
We
of
have the
feathers.
power. We do have the power
Mhm.
to reinvent ourselves,
Yeah.
you know,
It
just like
reminds
the
me of the
eagle.
scripture that says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the
Yes.
renewing of your mind."
Yeah. And our mind, I mean, what do we use? 8% of it?
Mhm.
10% of it? Not very much of it, really.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, but
we
it
have
is a
incredible powers
commitment.
that we can tap into. We just have to keep in touch with the big guy, and
Mhm.
he can just keep guiding us there, guiding us through there.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So she did. Wilma regenerated herself and she didn't die. But Fred did. And so then there was Ricky. And Ricky came along and they had a little eagle, had a baby eagle. She had regenerated herself so much into a brand new eagle that she was able to have a baby. So that was just
Mhm.
an incredible true story. He showed us pictures
Yeah.
of the eagles and the eaglet, and it was like, wow, I did not realize that before he told
Mhm.
that story, but it just really makes me think about our healing journey that we're
Mhm.
on and
So powerful. So powerful.
so powerful and how the steps are all there and they're in
Mhm.
God's word. They're backed by scripture, every single one of
Mhm.
the 12 steps of recovery. That is what I use to help people
Yeah.
recover and transform and reach their goals and become a new person physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And then I'm sure that there's a similarity in your training that you've
Mhm.
had as a trauma informed
Yeah.
master coach as well. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
I one of my favorite things to teach about is our inner guardians.
Mm,
Um, our nervous system is always there to protect us and help us and keep us safe. That's our brain's job, right? Is to keep us
mhm,
safe, and therefore our nervous system and our limbic system. And what we don't, it was one of the most powerful things I ever learned becoming a coach. It just was the most powerful. Um, is that you can remember a while ago I said we tend to keep all that down, right? We keep it down, we keep it down, we keep it in, we keep it down. And then there are triggers which help us recognize that we're in danger, whether we're in danger in that moment or not, right? Like,
mhm,
so for example, you watch a scary movie. I don't watch scary movies, but watching a horror movie, for example. I mean, what happens when you watch a horror movie? You're like this, and you're like this, and you're like this, or watching a fight movie, and you're bobbing and weaving and ducking the punches, and you're doing all of these things. Well, those are all nervous system trauma responses,
mhm,
and your brain and your body doesn't know the difference
mhm,
as to whether you're actually bobbing and weaving because you're watching Stallone beat up Ali or whatever, and or you're actually taking the hit.
mhm,
Your body doesn't understand the difference. Your brain doesn't understand the difference.
mhm,
And for that, and then for when you're little, like the first time anything bad happened to me that I remember, I was 8.
mhm,
I was 8 years old. And then going through trauma training and learning and all of these things. And then somebody said to me, one of my coaches said to me, well, have you ever talked to her? Because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have a split personality. Was
Right?
the first thing I thought,
Yeah, that would
right?
sound like
Like,
a weird request. Have
I
you ever
don't have
talked
that.
to
What do you
her?
mean have I ever talked to her? But then you go through this training and you do, and then it's the most powerful thing, because what you realize is that all of these things that happen for you is still that 8-year-old going, oh, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe. Like, it shows up as anxiety or as anger, or there are a million things that it can show up as
Mhm.
to keep you safe.
Mhm.
And then once you understand that you can overcome that and be one with that, and then speak to that, and pretty soon you don't have those things anymore.
Mhm.
That was one of the most powerful things ever when
Mhm.
I was going through trauma training, was learning your inner guardians. And I teach that to everybody, even like everybody who I coach, everybody, because everybody has them. Everybody
Mhm.
has a nervous system.
Right.
Everyone has triggers when they've been abused. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
how big or how small your trauma is to your body. Trauma is trauma.
Mhm.
We all think that we have the worst story in the world, right?
Mhm.
But all of our stories are the same.
Mm.
The details are different. And to learn that and to be able to teach that to people, and then for the people to be able to make a choice, do I or don't I?
Mhm.
It's the most, and when you see it on someone's face, when they just get it, look, I'm going to cry. It
Mhm.
is the most rewarding thing
Mhm.
to know that you just broke that pattern. Like, not me, them,
Mhm.
because I don't do it. They
Mhm.
do it,
Mhm.
right? And to see it in their face, to know that, oh my gosh, that just happened for them, and they brought themselves there. Really,
Mhm. Mhm.
I guide and I teach and all the things, but my clients are the ones who do the work. I don't do the work,
Mhm.
right? I mean, all of that stuff is inside work.
Mhm.
It isn't my job to heal you. It is my job to guide you. The
Wow.
healing is up to you.
Yeah.
But man, when that look, I got goosies and I got tears. It's
I'm
the
so
most,
excited for your podcast and to hear
it's going to
you
be good.
share more. Vicky's podcast it's called The Shattered But Unbreakable. Shattered but Unbreakable. So
Yeah.
definitely look for her podcast. And
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that you came on and shared your heart with us today, Vicki.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
just admire you so much.
Likewise. I always love talking to you. I could talk to you all day. That accent just makes my heart so warm and fuzzy. I love it.
Oh, love you too. We'll definitely hop on again and do another episode in the future.
I would love to.
Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope this episode inspired you to embrace your own God given purpose. If this episode inspired you and blessed you, would you please share it out with a friend who needs to be reminded of their own significance? And remember to hit subscribe. Until next time, remember to walk in faith, find the joy, and stand in your significance.